recent report by the CNN, it was alleged that China created an alternative narrative to cover up the real outbreak of the coronavirus. The report claims that with the official truth scrubbed from the Chinese internet, the authorities lied to the world that the virus was from China.
This is Wuhan 人民医院的急诊科。
37-year-old Zhang Zhan's first-hand accounts of what was happening at the epicenter of the virus back in February were widely shared on social media.
我是2月1号买火车票到重庆，然后
been confirmed in the last 2 weeks in Beijing, 9 of them in Shunyi district, where the capital airport is located. Shunyi is now in a
The global outbreak of novel coronavirus.
火车站的广场后面是，但是没有想到被警察追着打。
Outbreak was, while also stockpiling face masks and other medical supplies.
Well, the late Dr. Li Wenliang is widely perceived as the first.
In terms of the development of diagnostics, the development of therapeutics and vaccines, it's really imperative that viruses are shared by all countries that have access to these samples. And given
% of the coronavirus cases are in people ages 18 to 49 years old. The state is doing more testing.
Authorities have concluded their investigation into issues concerning Dr. Li Wenliang, who initially disclosed information on the coronavirus outbreak.
19 infections have now been confirmed in more than 100 countries and regions. In places like Italy and Iran, infection local authorities have been criticized by Chinese citizens and the central government for not acting quickly enough, and even punishing doctors who first tried to sound the alarm. But once reports of the virus and its spread made headlines, Chinese President Xi Jinping ordered resolute efforts to contain the virus. The government immediately took drastic measures. On January 23rd, Wuhan, a city of more than 11 million people, went into complete lockdown. All public transportation stopped. Only cars with special permits were allowed on the streets. People have been blocked from entering or leaving the city by air, rail, or road. Those in the city have been ordered to impose similar measures, locking down and restricting the movements of more than 60 million people.
The latest weapon in Beijing's arsenal against coronavirus is this new hospital. It's the second of two emergency facilities built in Wuhan. Construction began on January 12th.
Now, Dr. Li Wenliang, one of the first Chinese doctors who tried to warn fellow medics and the public of the coronavirus outbreak,
If you've been following how Wuhan has been dealing with the coronavirus outbreak, you may have noticed impressive footage of hospitals being built in record time. Construction started in late January, and the government said hospitals would be ready by early February. Tens of thousands of state-owned employees, as well as military personnel, have poured into the city. They are in a race to pull off this task. In under 2 weeks, one of the hospitals was declared completed and began admitting patients. But if you look at that same shot from another angle, you can still see construction being carried out behind this blue fence. On Wednesday, I visited Leishan Hospital, or Mount Thunder God. It's one of two emergency hospitals being built from scratch on the city's outskirts. One report from the Communist Party mouthpiece, People's Daily, said this hospital would open on Wednesday to receive patients. To be sure, construction has been very fast, but the day the doors were supposed to open, it was far from finished. One worker said they had just finished the foundations of the site. Chinese media reports later said the hospital was still under construction. To further alleviate patient overflow, the Wuhan government is repurposing existing buildings. Wuhan Salon is a convention center that's being turned into a hospital. With 2,000 beds, it is one of the largest. Again, Chinese state media said this place was ready to receive patients on Tuesday night. But when I went, there were puddles of water on the floor. Workers were still fitting out beds, wiring up electricity, and sweeping away trash. Conditions at the new hospital.
The city's new purpose-built Zhan Hospital is now taking confirmed cases. These patients are being transferred from other locations around the city, and the process is set up.
Of course, my mom and I are very worried because this is a very hard moment for us. My father was called to be on the side, the front line of building one of the hospital to contain or to treat the patient of the coronavirus. He was glad and he felt
In just hours from now, the Lunar New Year begins in China. But celebrations this year will be much tamer than usual. That deadly coronavirus outbreak.
The mystery virus started here in the city of Wuhan. Chinese authorities pinpointing its source to this food market. Dozens have been infected, but experts here believe the actual figure is closer to 1,700 cases.
It's a race to stop a deadly virus from spreading. Passengers touching down in the US on flights from central China now face a medical check.